I'm Akanksha. I'm co-founder of Microbiotics, and we are a microbiome research-based company. So let's dive deep into why you should worry about gut health and what really is a good gut health. So a lot of us understand that good gut health means good digestion, but what is really fascinating about gut microbiome is these microbiomes have a far-reaching impact. And while the digestion remains a primary thing, the other parts of our health are also impacted. And we start with one of the, Louis Pasteur is one of the father of microbiology, and he said that it is the microbes who will have the last word in our health, in a disease. So what really is the microbiome? These, as somebody pointed out very rightly, these are bacteria. So like Anil said, these are not just good bacteria. These are all kinds of bacteria, pathogens, fungi, etc. Microorganisms that live on us. They are in the soil, they are in the water, they are in the air, they are even on this laptop and on the laptop screen. But for the purpose of this webinar, human microbiome is the collective of all these small microorganisms that exist on us. And these are on all major body sites. It's a relatively new science. We've just begun to understand it. It's on our face, on our hair, inside our oral cavity, in our stomach, gut, skin. So they are basically everywhere. And they outnumber the number of cells in your body. So we may say that we are more microbes than we are DNA. We have more microbes than we have human cells. And they influence our health a lot more. Their influence on the risk of diseases is a lot more than genetics, which is what recent science is proving. So as I said, microbiome is present everywhere and it impacts everything. So in the oral cavity, it will impact your breath. Sometimes you have very foul smelling breath. That also, one of the reasons is the microbiome. It will impact your gut-brain axis. It will impact your sexual organs. So infertility has also been linked to characteristics of the vaginal microbiome. So skin, acne, etc. And gut microbiome means the genomes. That's all. So that is the definition. Gut microbiome has both the microbes, the fungi, good bacteria, bad bacteria, and their genomes is known as the gut microbiome. So how does it start? What are we born with it? Do we develop it? So gut microbiome is something that exists even in the mother's womb, and it is found in the maternal placenta, but it really comes to life when we are born. And from the time we are born to the 3 years of age is when it develops very rapidly, and it is influenced by the mode of birth. So naturally born people have a stronger microbiome in terms of immunity than people who are born from C-section. Against breastfed infants have a stronger microbiome than bottle-fed, formula-fed infants. Then it starts stabilizing, and ultimately when you are very old is when the diversity starts reducing again. So your entire adult life, the microbiome is highly modifiable. It changes by a lot of things, but essentially after 3 years is when it has stabilized, and in your old age is when it again starts wearing off. Already, if we can use the word wearing off. And when it comes to gut microbiome is largely for the purpose of our understanding. Gut microbiome is these microorganisms that live within our intestine, and these microorganisms impact a lot of things. They are connected to our brain, so they impact our mood. They are connected to our endocrine axis, so they impact hormones. They are connected to heart. They impact our heart health, to lungs, to skin, to liver. So the way these microbes in our intestine works, but the way these microbes work is they send signals to all of these different organs. See, microbes are present. Gut microbiome is present in our intestine, and it impacts our brain, our skin, our lungs, etc. So how does it communicate with all of these organs? It communicates by releasing small metabolites in the blood, and these metabolites from the blood travel to different organs where they exert their effect. And gut microbiome hence is also called the second brain. It's called the endocrine organ, etc. So as I said earlier, it's fascinating how these microbes, despite being so small in size, have such a profound impact. One is they release these signals called short chain fatty acids. So the carbs that we eat, there are not all carbs are equal. One is there are something that is known as non-digestible carbohydrates. These break down in the stomach and ultimately reach the large intestine, where they are the food for our good bacteria. And these good bacteria, once they get the food that they need, they release these signals in the blood, which we just spoke about, which is the short chain fatty acids. So, what these microbes actually also are able to do is they are able to influence your expression of genes. And this is a very new field called epigenetics. So, by influencing the genes, they may change the distribution of fat in your body. So, if you have a healthy microbiome, it may actually help your genes express in your favor, or give more healthy expressions, helping you to have a better health. It is one of the major things that protects us against pathogens, or it builds our immunity. So 70% of our immune cells reside in the gut. Whenever we have pathogen, it is the gut microbiome that provides us with our immunity and prevents this attack. And it also synthesizes essential vitamins. The moment we take the food, it is responsible for extracting nutrients from the food. So there are a lot of different pathways by which these act. And the ultimate thing is having a healthy microbiome will help us have better health. So we have spoken about how these microbes impact health, but what impacts these microbes? So we spoke about the way the birthing method, the feeding, whether it is breastfeed or it is formula feed. You also have lifestyle disorders. So it is seen that people who don't exercise much, people who have odd hours of sleeping, have a disturbed microbiome. People who take a lot of stress also have a characteristic different microbiome. Then diet. If you have a lot of junk food, if you have a lot of saturated fats, etc., then your microbiome will become less diverse and will become unhealthy. See, microbiome is highly influenced by diet. If you have unhealthy diet, unhealthy food will help the bad bacteria grow. So the more unhealthy food that you have, the more you are making the bad bacteria in your gut, you are feeding them. And if they grow, they will further make you eat more unhealthy food. So junk food is one of the major things that impacts your microbiome and makes your microbiome less healthy. Then there are certain medicines like antibiotics. Antibiotics are known to completely wipe out the microbiome. They have a very strong impact. Then geography. So depending on the climate, depending on how much polluted city that you live in, your microbiome will be different. And it depends on different lifestyle stages. So so while microbiome impacts our health, it is also highly modifiable. And a lot of factors can help you change your microbiome and make it healthier, which will come to later part of the presentation. So all in all, we see microbiome can impact health. We see there are a lot of factors that make the microbiome that can make our gut healthy or unhealthy. But what really is a healthy gut? What do we mean by a healthy gut? So by a healthy gut, we mean a gut. So the gut health that we know is made up of a lot of small microorganisms. A healthy gut is a gut in which a lot of different type of these microorganisms coexist. So the first thing that we look at is richness. Richness or diversity is when a lot of these microbes, it is rich in terms of number of different microbes. We look at evenness. So any one type of microbe should not dominate, because if one type of microbe dominates, then largely it is considered as an unhealthy gut. So it should be different type of microbes. They should be evenly distributed. You can't do away with harmful microbes completely. You can't have zero harmful microbes in you, but you should have a lot more helpful microbes as compared to harmful microbes. Then there is something called as phyla. We look at, these microbes are grouped, these bacteria are grouped into phyla, and there is one certain phyla that is considered unhealthy, certain phyla that is considered healthy. So we also look at the phyla distribution to see whether your gut is healthy or not. And there are certain ratios. like Firmicutes by bacteroids ratio. So there are characteristics of a healthy gut, and this is where the science get really interesting and really definite. That you can actually look at the gut profile, look at the microbes that are there, look at the bacteria that are there in your gut, and know whether your gut is healthy or not in the true scientific way. So we've spoken about immunity, we've spoken about how much the gut impacts our different organs. Let's see how many of us can guess this. And this can be very wild guess. So there is a chemical called as serotonin, which is known as the happy chemical. It causes us to be happy, and that is produced in the gut. Can you take a guess as to what percentage of this serotonin is produced by the gut? So the correct answer is what science has shown, 95%. Correct, Nishika, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut, which is quite eye-opening. So imagine 70% of immune cells reside in the gut, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And the serotonin that is produced in the gut is responsible for not just mood, it's also responsible for our motility, like how our digestion is. So while we think of gut as digestion, no, not 100%, not 100%. While we think of gut as the digestion, gut is actually a lot more. Think of it as the second brain. So we say, whether we are happy or sad, or if we look at food, then it is a brain that tells us that, okay, you should eat that food. This, in a quite correct way, is our second brain. So what do we mean by gut dysbiosis? So one of the people whom everybody on this call would have heard of, Hippocrates, he said all diseases begin in our gut. So while there's a saying that we are what we eat, we truly are what we digest. We eat something, but what we truly digest is what determines our health. And that largely is impacted by the gut. So what is gut dysbiosis? We spoke about healthy gut, we spoke about harmful, helpful microbes, certain ratios, certain phyla, diversity, evenness, etc. Gut dysbiosis is when there is an imbalance in the gut. And this is bidirectional. Sometimes the gut imbalance may start causing you to gain weight, or sometimes it may be the other way around. That because you're continuously under chronic stress for the last 1 month and you're having difficulties at work, and then your gut starts changing its characteristics. So it happens both the ways. There's a bi-directional relationship, but essentially gut dysbiosis is when there is an imbalance in your gut. And some of the examples which we will see in this section include obesity. So people who are heavyweight and who are obese have a different gut microbiome. Gut microbiome may lead to impaired glucose metabolism, making it more difficult for you to control your sugars if you have type 2 diabetes. It may lead to different mood disorders. So people who have anxiety, depression, or who are not very resilient to stress, they do have their microbiome, a different type of bacteria in the microbiome, more harmful, etc. So there are different conditions. It has even been studied in cancer. It has been studied in preterm birth. So there are a lot of interesting studies that are currently coming up. And gut dysbiosis is kind of being spoken about as the missing link. So there are a lot of things that these science could not explain. For example, why does one person respond to metformin not as much as the other person? So gut microbiome is kind of being thought of, and these are very initial days, but it is being thought of that this could hold the answers. Whether it does or not is for time to tell us. In obesity, there's something called Firmicutes by bacteroids ratio. That ratio is found altered, and people who have obesity largely have very high Firmicutes by bacteroids ratio. People who have mood disorders. So these mood disorders, you can see that many a times there are certain bacteria that release short-chain fatty acids. Those bacteria are reduced in people who have anxiety and depression and other mood disorders. So anxiety, depression conditions, but we are talking about not having enough, not having a happy mood through the day, etc. There are other microbes, harmful microbes that are increased, which essentially cause low-grade systemic inflammation in the body. So what we are say is that the microbiome characteristics are a little different in a lot of conditions, and this is a very fascinating area of research. It's still something that is going on. So we come to my favorite part, which is very few interesting studies that are actually show how important microbiome is in influencing health. So in this study, what was done is the gut microbiome from obese mice was taken and it was transferred to lean mice. This happens through fecal microbiota transplant, in which essentially you take the poop, the fecal matter, and then you process it in some way, and then you put it into the other person. So when the microbiome of an obese mice was put into a lean mice, it resulted in the lean mice gaining weight and becoming obese. Whereas nothing had changed. The environment had not changed. The diet had not changed. It is only the microbiome that had changed. So this is one of the landmark studies of microbiome in obesity, and it kind of proved that, okay, microbiome plays a very big role in obesity. So this is a recent study that was done in which participants their baseline gut microbiome was taken and they were put on dieting. And there were different factors that were seen, such as calorie deficit, then there were certain nucleotide polyformisms, etc. that were seen. And it was found that gut microbiome is a major player in predicting whether a weight loss intervention will be successful or not. So this again was a very interesting study. So we all know that meditation improves our mood, it makes us calmer, etc., etc. So in this study, these Tibetan monks were taken. This study was done on a total of 56 subjects, and these monks used to meditate for very long hours, and since quite a number of years, and their gut microbiome was compared against their neighbors, the people who live in the city, and it was clearly seen that both of these microbiomes were different. So monks had microbiome which was rich in microbes that reduce the risk of anxiety, depression, cardiovascular disease, enhancement. So the good microbes were much higher in these monks. So it showed that if you meditate regularly, one of the ways by which you experience the health benefits is also from your microbiome, because deep meditation, regular meditation will help you have a good microbiome. And we see, very shortly, resilience to stress has also been studied, and it was very clear that microbiome of people who are very resilient to stress is different from microbiome that was of people who are not that resilient to stress. Same for type 2 diabetes, same for certain other conditions. So essentially, microbiome plays a much bigger role in our health than just digestion, which is why it is said that microbiome could be the reason behind explaining variability. So you may be more, you may think that, okay, if I eat the same food as my sister, why do I keep on gaining weight and why does my sister not gain weight? It's not that microbiome holds 100% of the answer, but it could be one factor that influences your extraction of energy from the food that you eat. You may have the risk of developing a chronic disease. Your sibling may not. What will determine it? One of the things that determines it is the microbiome. So gut health is not the heart and soul and of everything, but it is a very important part of your health. How is it that we could get a healthy gut? So again, what is a healthy gut? Something that is very diverse, even good or bad microbes are there, and it has healthy ratio. We have seen a lot of things in what really is a healthy microbiome. So the first step, the eye-opening step, is really to know your gut health. And the way to know your gut health is you take your stool sample. Usually, like the current process is, you have to take your stool sample, you have to collect it in a vial and send it to a lab. This is a genetic test that is done to profile the gut microbiome, and it's expensive, time consuming, etc. Versus we now have microbiotics. We have a gut function test, which is a patent protected finger prick test. So by pricking the finger and by a methodology which is AI and ML driven, we are able to profile your gut microbiome. And you will be able to know how healthy, how even, how diverse your gut is, and how much your gut microbiome is supporting you in different physiological functions. Will we be able to tell you whether you are, so this diagnostic test, and it's a wellness test. So all it takes is just a finger prick. Just a finger prick, which is easily, so it's the same as what you would have seen people with diabetes do at home. It's just a finger prick, a blood drop is formed, and then that blood drop is collected on these five circles, and then we get the, with the help of Circle Health, we get the kit collected back. And then once the kit comes with us, next slide, this is what you will know. So you will know about how even your gut microbiome is, how diverse it is, and how much your microbiome is supporting different physiological functions. So essentially, in this case, the microbiome is supporting the emotional wellness well. It is supporting the immunity. It is supporting sugar metabolism. But sometimes we do see these ratios altered. And if the ratios are altered, that means the microbiome support is not that good. Or you may have, you suddenly see that, okay, my gut is not very diverse. It is not very even. So that many a time serves as a wake-up call. And step 2 is taking action. Diet is one of the major factors that impacts the microbiome, and microbiome is very dynamic. So the moment you change your diet from, say, healthy to junk food, your microbiome will start changing within 24 hours. It is that dynamic. You don't see this kind of dynamism in a lot of other disease areas, but you do see in microbiome. So eat a healthy diet. The sooner you start, the better it is. And what do we mean by a healthy diet? Eat a lot of digestible dietary fiber, because dietary fiber are like food for your microbes. So they reach your intestine and they help the microbes release good signals in your body that will help your health. Include fermented foods in your diet. Fermented foods have like live microorganisms, so they also will help you. Have a diverse diet. Your plate should be a riot of colors. The more diversity there is in your plate, so experiment with different textures. You may eat white rice one day, red rice the other day. Have different textures, different colors. The more diverse your diet is, the more diverse your gut will be. And avoid ultra-processed foods, because ultra-processed foods do not reach the microbiome. They do not reach your gut. They get processed much before that. They get absorbed much before that, and they result in sugar spikes and a lot of other things. So by rule of thumb, anything that is made in a factory will not be good for your health, as a rule of thumb. So ultra-processed foods like burgers and all should avoid. Get adequate sleep. Lifestyle goes a long way in having good gut health. So by adequate sleep for a good number of hours, follow the circadian rhythm, follow a specific time, try and avoid late night outs if possible, exercise regularly. The more we exercise, the more our microbiome, good bacteria in our microbiome improve. Try and manage your stress. It may be with a lot of things like meditation or taking help or whatever, but chronic stress is really known to impact the microbiome and is known to suppress good microbes, good bacteria, and increase the harmful bacteria. And pollutants and pollution, please avoid. Other than that, general lifestyle like excess of anything should be avoided. Excess alcohol, smoking is also known to impact the microbiome. And if you do decide to get the gut test done from Circle Health, we do have food recommendations for you that address the gut dysbiosis. So once you know that your gut is unhealthy or it is in an imbalanced state, what do? You would want to take actions. So in addition to all of the lifestyle changes that we just discussed, we also have a feature by which you can look at your diet and we recommend what foods can actually, what are the in your gut, what are the harmful microbes that are high and helpful that are low, and what foods as per literature impact these microbes. That by increasing certain food items, you are able to increase the helpful microbes that you need, and by reducing certain food items, you are able to reduce certain microbes that you may that you want to be reduced in your. So you can opt for food recommendations through Circle Health. For example, for this person, we do recommend him to reduce tomatoes as one of the examples, and to reduce mulberry leaf, but to increase his consumption of tamarind, pomegranate. Of course, over this, your own dietary choices will come, your own personal wellness goals will come. So all of that layer should be built over this, and your own judgment should be applied. But essentially what we do is we also suggest what foods could help you address your microbiome, and consider adding pre and probiotics. So in pre and probiotics, in probiotics essentially are live organisms, and so if you take the balance of good and bad bacteria, if you take probiotics, then you are increasing the level of good bacteria in your gut, and gut bacteria have a community effect. So the more good bacteria they are, they will make the environment that is conducive for good bacteria to grow. So sometimes having a probiotic will serve as that initial nudge, initial boost to help the microbes in your gut. And we do have personal probiotics which are personalized for each of you. So we are the only ones who have this, and this is available for pre-order for now, not really for sale. We'll start selling it in a while. But essentially, we look at your gut profile and we see what functions need support, and accordingly we design your probiotic capsule for you. And we do have pre-designed probiotics also for more digestion, type 2 diabetes support, and weight management. A personalized approach is really what is required. What we saw initially is gut is highly personal to an individual. There are more than 40 trillion microbes that exist on each one of us in different parts of our body. So our gut is very unique. Its dysbiosis is unique, and we need to understand each person's dysbiosis uniquely to be able to address it well. With this, thank you. We can open the floor for discussion. I'll just take a little moment here. So we are headed by one of India's leading microbiome researchers, and his vision is to translate today's microbiome research to help with very simple, affordable solutions for each one of us. So stool test is first such, wherein something which is as cumbersome as collecting stool was transformed into something which is as simple as pricking the finger, something which a person living with diabetes does every day in the morning. We have different social media channels. Please, if you found this talk interesting, please do follow us. And if there are any further questions, you can log on to our website and ask GutChat, which is our AI chatbot, which is trained on scientific papers on the microbiome. So it will give you scientific answers. Yeah, so over to questions now.
Okay, so we have a few more questions. So someone was asking, is there any exercise to release more serotonin? Please guide.
The exercise that has been studied in science is largely aerobic exercises, specific resistance training versus aerobic exercises and all. There are papers in favor of both the sides. You do what you do, but one of the things that you can definitely help with is yoga, because yoga involves stretching. It's a slow process. It involves very deep breathing. So you can definitely try yoga to help with your microbiome. At the same time, any exercise is better than no exercise. Also try meditation, because as we just saw, meditation helps with microbiome. Any other question, Manisha?
Yeah, so Vandana was asking, how frequently should gut function test be taken?
So we recommend start first, and then after 3 months repeat it. So once you get your report, you do certain interventions, like obviously you will want to live a healthier life, you will want to eat cleaner. If you also start taking probiotics, then that will help you as well. But you can then repeat it after 3 months. So we recommend 3 months, but it's up to you. But there's no point in redoing it very frequently as well. 3 months seems to be at least good enough your time.
And I hope this helps. We have another question. Does fasting help in improving gut health?
Fasting has been known to improve gut health. There are papers that show that fasting helps. See, the more sometimes when we eat, we keep eating so much that it overwhelms our system. So fasting has been shown to improve gut health.